What is up, you guys? So I'm coming at you with another video, and you know what? We are doing really well with my 30-day challenge, coming you with another video, because tonight we're talking about the boys. Not those boys, but I'm talking about the Proud Boys. So let's get into it.
Let me show you who I can be when I'm in power. Never see what you will.
But of course, if you're new to my channel, what is up? My name is Mitch, Maverick Mitch, Hey Mitch, all the Mitches, and pretty much I like talking about what I like talking about. So current events, reviews, and pop culture within the scope of entertainment, culture, and purpose. So again, that just means I like talking about what I like talking about. So TV, movie reviews, I just finished The Boys, hence kind of like this topic, and then going into social political commentary. So be sure to check out all those videos as you're finishing this video. Alright, so obviously I just finished watching The Boys. You can go ahead and check out that review, and it kind of goes into this pretty much topic, because I guess this past weekend was coming out day, and it's kind of like the Proud Boys was being in the news, and the left was using it as a play on terms, using gay people and pictures of gay people as a Proud Boys. So it kind of makes all the sense here that we're going to be talking about the Proud Boys, and then more so because Tim Pool had an interview with their chairman, Enrique, Tarrio, I think his name is, Tarrio, I forgot already, and the quartering, Jeremy from the quartering also reported on this, so I figured I might as well talk about this, because I think there is this level of uncertainty, there's this level of unknown when it comes to Proud Boys. If you follow a lot of Tim Pool, if you follow a lot of like Annie No and all that stuff, you're having a good idea, but the general public doesn't know. So this kind of serves as one. Go ahead, check out Tim Pool's video and TIMCAST IRL, which he had the interview with the person, versus someone coming up to you like, yeah, they're just white supremacists, and I don't care if their leader is Afro-Cuban and all that stuff. They could still be sympathizer to white supremacy and all this stuff. Like, how about you just listen to the actual person? Even if you think he's wrong, even if you think he's lying, at least you know the context from the source. Judge it for yourself. I think that that's the best thing you can do. Just listen to the person. And if you were like, oh, I don't want to listen to all his rhetoric, well, you don't even know what he's gonna say. So how about you listen to him, and then if you disagree, you disagree, but you should analyze what they're saying, and that you don't silence people, right? You're not supposed to, like, that's what a child does. If you don't like something, you just put your head in the sand and pretend it goes away. If you're a real adult, you will listen to him, even if you disagree, and be like, hey, I disagree with your points, but I just listen to your points. So this video kind of just serves as me going into this, and kind of like just going into their interview and pretty much just kind of like picking out my thoughts about it. So pretty quick, simple video for tonight. I am hashing out on my 30 days challenge here, and so I do need to come up with a video, and I think this was a pretty okay topic to go with, so let's go into it. Yeah, again, this is going into the TIMCAST IRL, talking about, going into the actual video and all that stuff. So he has different clips up, so I'll link it below, but this is pretty good as a starter to like figure out what Enrico's goals are. So yeah.
Or with the Proud Boys, you said you don't want to sit back and do nothing.
Something a lot of people don't know is that most Proud Boys aren't activists. Most of them don't go to rallies. Most of them, the only activism I guess that they do is go out to vote. There's a small percentage of Proud Boys that are politically active, like myself. I've been active for 18 years. I was a canvasser. I was a campaign manager. Door knocker. I've worked the polls, and it's always something that I've been passionate about. So our goals are simple. We think about the entire organization, and basically what we want to do is just make better men in general, better brothers, better husbands, better fathers. Everything else after that is auxiliary, right? And I think we focus on more the celebratory aspect of the West instead of the defend aspect of the West, but we do both, right?
So let me ask you the very, in my opinion, I can't stand the question, but we'll do it anyway.
Alright, so Tim is going to ask about the white supremacy stuff. And so before that, I do want to make note, and then he goes into, if you watch the whole interview, he does go into the Proud Boys is actually as much, okay, so the Proud Boys is just for men, right? and then he goes in. There's a like he separates it from women and all that stuff. But the idea, like, just as much as there's Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, and they should be separated instead of girls being inserted in Boy Scouts. But whatever. But anyway, so this is a real fraternity or whatever in his eyes, I guess. Not misquoting him, hopefully, but yeah, I just want to put that out there. And then so far so good. I know, like, again, just my thoughts. Like when I first heard this and all that stuff, I was following this kind of, but I didn't. I knew, like, there was, like, a founding with McGinnis, right? Gavin McGinnis or whatever. But okay, so point being is I kind of knew, like, this. It started off as the Proud Boys was starting as a meme, and it kind of grew into something more, like he was saying, like a fraternity into making better men. You can still say that it's just a front, whatever. But so far, if I take what he's for face value, what he's saying is true, then I have no problem with it. But, like, we'll go forward.
Will you right now denounce white supremacy?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Cut it. Cut that clip. Just kidding. Yeah. So
check this out. Yeah, that's it. That's what they're gonna pick up right now. Okay, so
not that I
unequivocally, and I've said this before, I denounce white supremacy. I denounce anti-Semitism. I denounce fascism. I denounce communism. I denounce Antifa. I denounce any other ism, right, that is prejudiced against people because of the color of their skin, because of their religion, because of their cultural background, and anything that has to do with authoritarian governments. And I hate having to repeat that so many times. And I know that there's a lot of viewers here that don't know who the Proud Boys is. But I have to constantly repeat that. I don't like labeling myself, and this is the Afro-Cuban label is something that the media uses all the time. And I hate putting people in boxes. People shouldn't be put in boxes. Like people say, oh, well, how could they be racist? And here, look, I'll be clear about that. How could they be racist if they have a brown chairman? Well, you could be any color and be racist, but I am not racist. The organization is not racist. We don't care.
I just really need to point out how stupid our current media ecosystem is that I have to ask a black man if he's a white supremacist.
Yeah.
So I recognize the absurdity of the question for all the people in the audience. I think it's stupid. But that's, like, I think people who are, like, regular moderate Americans and conservatives roll their eyes when they constantly hear questions like that. But you have this these news institutions that genuinely don't know or don't care, and so you have to sort of have a question like that, in a sense, to make sure it's absolutely and positively clear.
Okay, so two things, and I'll go into it. So he talks about his shirt because it says American Supremacist, and I know people who might just take that out of context. He'll go into talking about that if you thought about that yourself, because he likes, just as much as the left likes to use words like Planned Parenthood or affirmative action as a positive, he's using triggering word supremacy as a flip on patriotism, right? And so he talks about chauvinistic stuff and his version and his terminology of it. It could work against him, it could work for him, because if he says he's a chauvinist, then obviously the left is going to run with it. So I don't know if that's a good or bad tactic, but it just depends on how the level in which you can define it in your own terms without the left rolling with it. The second portion I want to go into, and I wish I had a better graphic, but the one I pulled off of Google, and I'll pull it up right now, is like determining, because I hate it when people say the Nazis are on the left. Because Nazism, which is socialism, the National Socialist Party is on the right. The only thing, so we'll break it down. So, like, okay, so this is the best graphic that I can pull up. Alright, so we have, at the top, we have National Socialist German Workers, which is a Nazi party. We have the Democrats and Republicans. And then you also need to remember, I guess I can push up the graphic another time, hopefully, but, like, Antifa is, like, not anti-fascist. Well, they are, but Antifa had actually roots in Germany as the anti-fascistic action, which is the Communist Party that was against Nazism. So yeah, I guess they were anti-fascists, but at the same time, Nazi was get like the Nazis was against the Communist Party, which was the Antifa. And then obviously like the everyday Antifa person that just picks up a Molotov and says they're Antifa, that's not Antifa, but like the people who has like integrated into themselves, because you have like, okay, so this is a whole different topic, but you have like higher cell people that like integrates themselves and like recruits people, and that, you know, they themselves are not engaging, they're just recruit the pawns to engage in the half of that Antifa, right? And so because if they do something, then they get they're the ones who are gonna get locked away, right? But if they recruit the pawns to do it, then that's just the pawns, right? But okay, sorry, going back into this like platform of all the stuff and how it lines with the Democrats and not the Republican, and I will add to where it lines with the Republican. Again, there was a better graphic. I saved it probably in somewhere else, but I couldn't find it on Google. But okay, so here we have school control. We have, I know the Republicans is all for school choice, but Democrats aren't it, and obviously you have that with the Nazis, National Socialists. Control hair care. The hair care is always on the Democrat side. Taking individual guns, always on the Democrat side. Republicans very two-way. High taxes, Democrat. You know, low taxes, Republican, right? Control major industry, that is definitely socialism, right? So you want to take control of the corporations and all this stuff, that's a very Democrat, whereas a free market is more on the Republican side. So next one is abortion and euthanasia. Obviously, Nazis was definitely about abortion and eugenics, so taking out people who were mentally ill, handicapped, all this stuff, and so they were all about that, right? Down syndrome, they were about that, and obviously the Democrat Party is all about abortion. So Republicans, pro-life, right? Race determines identity. Definitely on the race is huge on identity, race, identity politics is huge on the Democratic side. Republican side, no. Like you can say like, oh, they're about the white people, the old white people. No, well, we are all about Americans. And if you want to peg that on people, like keep them accountable that this is about all Americans. We just care about what you can get done. Socialism, that's very a given, and then capitalism on the right. So this graphic doesn't go into it because this is obviously a very pro-Republican type thing, but the things that the Nazi Party, the National Socialist Party aligns with the Republicans is strong military, right? So the Nazis was strong military, and secondly, the Nazis, there's an idea of nationalism. So I will have to break that down because on the Nazi part, it was ethno-nationalism. So ethno, not just German, but the white German, Aryan, whatever, Nazi race, right? So no one outside of that was permitted. There is hella nationalism with the Republican Party, but we want to embrace all Americans, not just the white Americans. And then you can say, oh, that's how you're over there. Okay, no. If you go to a Trump rally, it's all Americans, right? And so you can keep Republicans accountable to that, but that's what it is. So one thing that this graphic is missing, I would put like religion. So obviously the Republicans is supporting Judeo-Christian values, and then the Democrats is anti-religion, really. Like other than woke theology, they don't want religion. They don't want to hear about God. They want to put like definite separation of church and state. But if you look into it, like the founding fathers, was never about separation of church and state. They actually upholded faith, right? And separation of church and state, if you look it up, it's not in the Bill of Rights, Declaration, or Constitution. It's only in one line that Jefferson wrote in a paper. And if you read that paper in its entirety, it talks about that the government will not infringe on religion. And so Democrats run with that, and it's only been around with, I don't know, like the 50s, 60s that they went with that. So yeah, and then obviously the Nazis, you could say that they're Christian, but like they eliminated, they wanted the government to become God, right? And so
as absurd and stupid as it is,
it's also kind of incomplete because it's like, do you denounce racial supremacy?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Together, period.
And that should be the argument, not white, not black supremacy, not
Just
Native American supremacy, not Jewish supremacy. It's all bad stuff. Being
Yes.
a racial supremacist is a bad thing.
Yeah.
well, so let me ask you about that shirt.
Okay.
American supremacist. I have here the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of fascism. They say, a political philosophy, movement, or regime, such as that of the fascisti, that exalts nation and often...
Okay, yeah, so I'll let Tim continue, but going into, like, again, what I'm saying with the whole Nazi party, I hate it when they put it on, the Nazis on the right, only because, like, what, they're socialists? Like, they should be on the left. They're socialists, they're about all the abortion there. So the point of doing that whole graph was to show and demonstrate and illustrate that the Democrats is more in line with the Nazi party. The only thing that the right likes, the media, left-wing media likes to do and portray Nazis is with the right is because they associate Republicans being with the racists. They associate the Republicans being with the white people. And so they associate Nazis being white people, Nazis being militaristic, only those two things, like, oh, it must be right, Nazi must be right wing, when in reality, and we can break it down, there's different parts of left and right, because left is more government regulations and the right is more less regulation. So you have economic left and right, you have more cultural left and right and all that stuff, and so, but colloquially, I guess you can... Nazis should be on the left, but obviously they just keep putting Nazis on the right, which is so stupid.
Race above the individual, and that stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. So I think you've already explained this. I think the only thing out of that is that you are a patriot. But so clearly, let me just ask you, are you for a centralized autocratic government?
Absolutely not.
Are you in favor of putting the race above the individual?
No.
Are you in favor of a dictatorial leader?
Nope.
Social or economic regimentation?
Nope.
Or forcible suppression of your opposition?
Nope.
Do you believe that Antifa should be allowed to go out and protest so long as they don't get violent?
Yes.
Do you think that the nation should be exalted above the individual?
No.
Well, then.
I think the individual, the reason why I'm an American supremacist is because the founding of this country is about the individual. It's about your individual liberties. The founding fathers didn't envision this powerhouse. They didn't. This isn't what they wanted per se. It's beautiful that we have it, but they just wanted to build a nation that was free. That you have your plot of land, you could practice your religion, you could have your family, you can raise them however you want, and be free of basically to do whatever it is that you want, right? And the federal government was built to protect that from foreign invaders. And we've gotten so far past that. It was about the individual. We got, and it's funny because the revolution was started at the basement of a bar. And
The American Revolution.
The American Revolution was started at the basement of a bar. And a bunch of farmers and carpenters and just regular Joes faced off against the biggest superpower that the world has seen to that time. And they won. And they were tired of it. And they didn't want that. So when the president says, I agree with the president. When the president says law and order, I agree with him because I understand where he's coming from. He says law and order in these cities that don't have law and order. Too much law and order is bad. Legislators get elected by proposing new legislation, new laws. They don't get elected by deregulating. And I think that's a major problem that we have, and we're so far from that. Free speech. Okay, yeah, the government isn't stopping us from speaking our words, but now the corporations are.
All right, so I think that kind of like for this video, I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. If you want to watch in the rest of the interview, I'll link it below and everything. But I guess I'm just gonna finish it off with. So final thoughts. Again, if you want to watch the rest of that, I'll link it below. You can watch the whole entirety. I encourage you to do so, and because you want to watch the whole thing in the full context and everything. But the one thing that I do want to just leave off with is this level of an establishment, right? He was talking about the American Revolution was fighting against the biggest world power at the time, which is the British and everything. And so I think that's one driving point because it is Antifa and those on the leftists and all those on the left that thinks that government, which is Trump at the moment, is the big bad. Like, this is their revolution. They feel like there's purpose in this, whereas the Democrats is trying to, it's very much the establishment, you know. People like Tulsi Gabbard talks about Kamala Harris propagating this level of establishment. You have people who are Republicans in name only, right, that are backing up Biden just because they want to keep this war machine, this establishment, and then Trump, being the businessman, is shaking things up. You wonder why Republicans and Democrats hate him? Because he's actually shaking up the status quo. He's actually shaking up the establishment, and that's why the people are for Trump. It's because if we want to get rid of like regulations and all this stuff, getting more freedoms and then more liberties rather than like, we want to get back the economy and work and all that stuff. They want to back up the person that's doing that versus someone like Biden, who said he would want to lock up the whole nation again. And so that's just the lasting point. And so yeah, I think, again, this is a great point to watch, and share with your other friends, that especially who's on the fence and don't know anything, but definitely watch it and all that stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next video. If you want to follow me, you can follow me in my joint Instagram at It's Mandatory Fun, where I do other videos with my friend Jen. I'm also on Instagram. My personal Instagram is Hey Mitch Mitch. You can also follow me on Parler, Maverick Mitch. And again, thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Peace, peace, peace. Be with you.